Hello everybody, and welcome to XGamerRichy's Game of the Year 2012! Now, every year for the past... well, this is the 4th year I'll be doing this, so basically going through my favourite games of the year in reverse order. This year I have got an awesome 10 to go through, and I hope you look forward to finding out what they are. A few little ground rules before I start basically doing the list. One, I have to have played the game this year. It's very important. I'm not putting forward an opinion on a game that I've not played. That's just stupid. Two, the game has to have come out in Europe this year. I'm making one exception for that, if only because it came out in Europe last year, but it came out in America this year, and I played it this year, so that one's getting a bit of a slide. And three, I have to be able to make a little bit of an explanation as to why I put it where I did. So let's have a quick look at some of the games that didn't make it. You've got things like, what you see on the screen here. Yes, unfortunately none of them made it either because, well, largely because none of them met the criteria of my awards, and also some of them just weren't good enough, unfortunately. Sorry. Anyway, let's get on with the list, starting with number 10. So, at number 10, we have Pandora's Tower. Now, Pandora's Tower came out in about April, I think it was? Yeah, it was around then. And it was really good. I really enjoyed Pandora's Tower. It's part of the Operation Rainfall games. It was the last of the three, and it's the only one that hasn't reached America, actually, I think. Which is a shame, because it is a great game. Basically, you follow the story of Aaron and Elena as they go to the Scar to find the 13 towers, from which Aaron must gather Master Flesh from the Masters of the Towers to save Elena. Now, the story itself is actually really interesting. It's actually quite sort of disturbing at points, but also it's got an absolutely brilliant ending. There's 5 to choose from that you can get, and all of them are vastly different, so that's a major plus. And just, it's a very interesting game. It's basically like a cross between Zelda, God of War, Devil May Cry a bit, but it's changed because you've got a time limit and constantly going back to give Elena beast flesh, and it's really interesting. Now, I do have some problems with it. One, there's something a bit dodgy with the visuals. I don't quite know what it is. There's lines that appear everywhere, and it sometimes gets a bit icky, which I guess is because it's a Wii game and it's not quite powerful enough to deal with it. And also some of the bosses and puzzles are a pain. But it's still definitely worth getting, and I would definitely sort of say get it if you get the chance. So, let's move on to the next one. Number 9. Now, at number 9, we have Final Fantasy 13-2. Now, when I played the first Final Fantasy... when I played the first Final Fantasy 13, I wasn't that keen on it. I generally had a pretty strong dislike for it for quite a long time. And I decided to give 13-2 a chance because I was interested to see whether it could fix what went wrong in 13. And to my joy, it did. It definitely improved on the story. It wasn't half as melodramatic and annoying to follow as 13 was, and also it just played better. I mean, there was some slight annoyances with the fact that you only had 2 human characters, but it was good. Also, obviously it looked good. There was a slight dip in quality from Final Fantasy XIII, but that's because it fitted all onto one disc, so that's that. And also, the ending was hugely controversial. But I thought it was absolutely fitting, and basically, 13.2 made me care about the overall Final Fantasy XIII franchise again. So, basically it means that I can't wait for Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII, because it's just going to be amazing. So, yeah, I mean, there are a few bits and problems. I mean, the voice acting's a lot better as well, and the soundtrack is amazing. But yeah, it's good. I really liked Final Fantasy XIII too, so that's why it gets placed at number 9. Let's move on to number 8. At number 8, we have Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure. Now, Rhythm Thief is not a spectacularly made game. When I did my review of it, I gave it an 8.25, which is still great, but it's lower than any of the other games in this list. So why have I put it higher than 13.2 on Pandora's Tower? Well, it's because I just love the game so much, even though it has its problems, and there's bits of there's shoddy subtitles, and the ranking system is a pain in the backside. I still love it. It's so cheesy. It's just fun. It's just a really fun game, and I love the soundtrack, I love the story, I love going back and just playing the rhythm games again and again. It just comes out miles on top of Final Fantasy Theatrhythm, or Theatrhythm Final Fantasy, however you know, which is the other 3DS rhythm game that came out this year. And Rhythm Thief, to me, just absolutely trounces it, because it's so fun. Whether it's an excellent game in its own right is a different matter, but it's just fun to play, and I enjoyed it far more than I did Final Fantasy XIII and Pandora's Tower, simple as. So, let's move on to number 7. At number 7, we have Lollipop Chainsaw! Now, obviously, Lollipop Chainsaw is rather crude and generally sort of... It's typical Suda51 fare, I have to say. Now, it's received mixed reviews. I gave it a pretty damn good review, because I enjoyed it. It's definitely a Marmite game. The story is very cliche and very B-movie-esque, and it's just filled with corny, cheesy, cliche, and completely insane plot points and lines, but it's just hilarious. It's probably not as bad as like Shadow of the Dam's plethora of dick jokes, but some of the jokes are pretty bad. But then it's still got some ingenious lines. I mean, I will always love, what kind of whack job waterboards Chippendale? That's just amazing. And also, it's just fun to play. I mean, it's never going to reach the lofty heights of something like Bayonetta in terms of gameplay, but it's still fun to play. It's a bit slower paced, and probably a bit more button mashy, but it's still fun, and it's a joy to see zombies explode into rainbows and sparkles. It's just absolutely insane, and it actually makes me like a zombie game, which is insane because I don't like zombie games. So Lollipop Chainsaw has definitely done something pretty amazing. And also sort of, I mean, what other game can you have lollipop and killing zombies to Hey Mickey? I mean, what? That just doesn't make sense, but it's awesome at the same time, and I love it. And yeah. So let's move on to number 6. In this place we have Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask. Now, as you've probably seen over past years and past playthroughs and walkthroughs, I love Professor Layton. It's awesome. And the puzzle... I never thought I would love a puzzle game. Because puzzles annoy the hell out of me. I don't like them. They make me think. Which sounds stupid considering I'm going to university and thinking a lot. But I don't like sort of getting stuck on a puzzle. It just endlessly irritates me. But I love Layton. And Miracle Mask is a fantastic entry into the franchise. Basically, sort of, Spectre's Call, it was looking like the series was starting to stagnate quite a lot, largely because all of the puzzles were like reused, but Miracle Mask just comes in, all new puzzles, all new visual style, and it's awesome. I mean, it does something really new with plot, changing from the past to the present, and it's very interesting. I mean, I will say that it does classify as the single most predictable entry into the Professor Layton franchise. I pretty much figured out who the villain was from the word go, which isn't great. But it's still a really fun game to play, and I would heartily recommend it, because the 3DS has some great games, and Miracle Mask is one of them, and it deserves to be played, because it's forging a new way for Professor Layton, and I definitely can't wait for Azaran Legacies, if that's what it's going to be called at that point, but Professor Layton 6, for those of you who don't know, because that's going to be amazing. So, let's move on to number 5. Here we have The Last Story. Now, The Last Story was the other one of the Operation Rainfall games, and I love it. It's a really amazing game. Now, there is a lot of arguments as to whether The Last Story or Xenoblade Chronicles is better. I'm not entering into that debate because I've not played Xenoblade Chronicles. But I love The Last Story. Yes, it has its visual problems and it chokes a lot sometimes because they've tried to stick so much detail in things. So, it's a give and take, really. But the story is really interesting. The characters are phenomenal. All of them are really sort of nuanced and just such a joy to play as. And you really care about all these characters by the end of the game, and that's just something that's awesome. Also, it's got a very interesting gameplay system. I mean, because it introduces a level of strategy that is just so interesting to use. I mean, the fact that you can sort of get all of the attention onto Zale is just very interesting, because it introduces a risk versus reward strategy, and it allows you to revive allies and so on and so forth, and then the powerful attacks that you can get at the end are just awesome. And also, just some of the bosses are really cool. And also, it's awesome that you can change the colours of all your weapons, and you've got quite a choice as to how your characters are designed. And there's a lot of side quests. They're a bit hard to find, mine, but still, it's fine. And I have to say that sort of it's got just some awesome parts to it. And yeah, I absolutely love The Last Story. The British cast, which is the same for Pandora's Tower and Xenoblade Chronicles, just makes it. It's just great hearing British voices in a video game, considering how long we have sat with American voice actors. I really, really, really want to hear more British dubs, which is why I'm really excited to see Ni no Kuni, when it comes out, because it's got a Welshman in it. So that's going to be hilarious. That was a really bad Welsh accent. Oh well. Shame I'm not going to be able to play it, but oh well. So yes, The Last Story. I would really recommend you get it, because it's phenomenal. So, let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we have Tales of the Abyss 3DS, or 3D, or whatever. Now, Tales of the Abyss was never released in Europe before the 3D port arrived. So, there was no way I could play this game up until it was released. Now, Tales of the Abyss is the game that was released in November of 2011 in Europe, and then in some point early 2012 in America. So even though it technically flouts my rules, I'm still putting it not on here, because it's a great game, and I love it a lot. It's just really sweet. And if there's one thing it does better than Tales of Symphonia, is the utilisation of the leitmotif of Karma, the theme song, which repeats in various forms throughout the game. And that just made the game for me. That plus the amazing story, the awesome character of Jade. Jade is just glorious. He's like the most sarcastic idiot I have ever seen in a video game. But it's so satisfying to watch him just take apart everybody in the cast. It's just amazing. I mean, the 3D on the game is a bit pointless, but it's a great game, and I love it to pieces. It may not be quite as good a part of my favourite as Tales of Symphonia is, but Karma is a song that will always stay with me, because that is just phenomenal. And I love Tales of the Abyss. What more can I say? So let's move on to number 3. Ooh, we're getting close. At number 3, we have Kid Icarus Uprising. Now, I was really excited when Kid Icarus Uprising was announced, because it looked outstanding. And as time went on, the controls looked to be a bit finicky, and I wasn't keen on the voices to start with, but after playing it, I absolutely adored the game. Yes, the controllers are finicky, and yes, it can be a pain to play it sometimes. But the story and the characters and just the quotes and the self-reflexivity and the references are just so amazing. I mean, as you can probably tell, I am an absolute fan of cheesy lines and jokes. So, Kid Icarus Uprising is absolutely perfect for me, and it's just a blast to play. You just got all the epic sights to see, and just the sense of scale, and that soundtrack, oh my god, that soundtrack, it's glorious. I don't think I've ever had so much fun with a game that is essentially a shooter. I don't play shooters, but Kid Icarus Uprising is just amazing in its cheesiness, and I love it to pieces. And it is absolutely gutting that we may not get another Kid Icarus game like this for another 20 odd years if Sakurai has anything to do about it. Is it Sakurai? Yeah, I think it's Sakurai. So, which is gutting, but hopefully Pit doesn't stay away for that long ever again, because Uprising was awesome. So let's move on to the runner-up in number 2. Just missing out on the top spot is Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. Now, as you can probably also tell, I'm a major Kingdom Hearts fan. It's one of my favourite franchises ever, and Dream Drop Distance fits in perfectly in that. I mean, basically, I think Dream Drop Distance classifies as probably the best looking title on the 3DS to date. Or sort of the games that I played. There's some that might look better, but Dream Drop Distance looks phenomenal. And it's just great. I mean, all the worlds are huge. They just expand everywhere. And I really love flow motion. It's great. It's a great thing to be introduced into the franchise. It's probably never going to get used again, but it's still amazing. Now, people complain about the story and the insanity levels that the plot points are getting to, but it fits, and I like it. I mean, yes, some of them are a bit hard to swallow, shall we say, but Kingdom Hearts has always had really over-the-top plot twists and so on, and yeah, I just love it to pieces, as is pretty much the same with every game on this list. And I just, it basically sort of has given me such excitement for Kingdom Hearts 3 when that eventually comes out that it's amazing. And I'm sorry, but the Dream Eaters are the most adorable things I say that, they're just completely adorable. I can't say they're the most adorable things I have ever had on my 3DS, because I think the bunny in Miracle Mask probably beats them. But it's still awesome, and it's just so fun to play. And I love it. So, I've gone through 9 games so far. It's time to see what gets the top spot in number 1. You probably couldn't guess this one, but it's Pokemon Black and White 2! Now, one thing that I was never kind of expecting was that a Pokemon game would ever reach the top of my list at all, because they, starting with Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, they'd started to stagnate, they'd started to get very samey, and even though they were great games, they were starting to lose their oomph with me. So when Pokemon Black and White came out, and they felt so fresh, I was just in shock, and I was in love with them. The music was great, the new edge on the story was great, the change of pace was great, and I just loved Black and White. And then Black and White 2 has come along and made the game feel even fresher. Yes, it's on the DS, yes, it's still sprite-based and 2D, with 3D elements, and there's quite a few 3D elements, I have to say. But it just feels so fun. I've never had this much fun with a Pokemon game in so long. Well, since Black and White, but like before that, it'd just been it started to die out for me a bit. And Black and White 2 has just reignited that flame. And it's introduced some amazing additions to the franchise. I mean, Pokestar Studios is amazing. It's just a great side attraction. And then also just some of the themes, my god, the gym leader themes, like the gym themes themselves, because each gym has a different theme, and I just love it. It's great. It's something that they've never done before, and it just feels right. And then also the rival theme, the new Team Plasma theme, the final evil boss theme, and my god, that champion theme. Everything with Black and White 2 just works. It looks phenomenal, considering it's a DS game. It sounds phenomenal. It plays phenomenal. I mean, it's a Pokemon game, what do you expect? And just the pacing is brilliant, and even though you're going through exactly the same region that you did in Black and White, it still feels fresh because they introduced so many new places and areas for you to go through that it just was amazing, and I loved it. And because I enjoyed Black and White 2 so much, it just has to go at the top of my list. There's no other place for it. Even though it's the same old Pokemon that I've been playing for the past God knows how many years. This is the best Pokemon game I have ever played. And that is a major, major thing. So it has to beat out all of the other games that have come out this year, because I just love it so much. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of my Game of the Year 2012 awards. Basically, it's just a top 10 games of 2012, but I like to sort of give it a sense of occasion. So, hopefully, 2013 brings some amazing games to the table as well. And I hope you've enjoyed listening to me ramble on about my favourite games of this year. If you agree with the games on this list, then good, I like you. If not, this is my opinion. Just you can save what games you think are amazing as well, but this is my list. This is my personal list, and it follows my rules. So, yes. Anyway, hope you've all enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a very happy new year. See you in 2013. Yay!